A brutal system of race-based slavery shaped life in the United States for generations prior to the Civil War. Black bondage controlled the South's economic, social, and political structure. It encouraged white racism and demands for black subordination throughout the country. As the cultivation of cotton expanded during the 19th century, many Northerners believed their welfare depended on the perpetuation of slavery. But as economics and racism tied the North to the South, other considerations encouraged disagreement. Fear that slavery threatened Northern interests and freedom accentuated the impact of a moral campaign against slavery and pushed the sections apart. Nowhere were tensions between forces binding the sections together and those pulling them apart stronger than in the North-South borderland. In this region, stretching westward in a broad, uneven band from the Atlantic coast to the Kansas plains, sectional identities, economies, and moralities intermeshed, interacted, and clashed. Although the border region is variously defined, I follow the pre-Civil War custom of including the entire area encompassed by what contemporaries called the border free states and the border slave states. The former included New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and, by 1846, Iowa. The latter included Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, Kentucky, and Missouri. Many miles and some cultural differences set the northern portions of the border-free states, or lower north, apart from their southern portions. But these states functioned as political units and differed demographically, historically, economically, and culturally from their neighbors to the north as well as the south. Similar divisions existed in the border slave states. Southern Maryland's tobacco counties, southeastern Virginia's cotton counties, and Kentucky and Missouri's hemp counties relied more heavily on slave labor than did other parts of these states. Yet, like the states of the lower north, the border slave states functioned as political units and constituted a region distinguishable from others in their section. Robert J. Breckinridge, a mildly anti-slavery Kentucky clergyman, recognized the distinctiveness of the North-South borderlands and their centrality in the nation's struggle over slavery. In January 1860, as Civil War approached, Breckinridge placed responsibility for sectional antagonism on the border South and lower North. The key issue, he contended, was northward escape of African Americans from slavery. He declared, "It is Maryland, Virginia, Kentucky, and Missouri that have borne all the losses and annoyance," and he held the border North responsible. As the border-free states pondered the consequences of their aid to fugitive slaves, Breckinridge warned they ought to remember that their borders are as much exposed as ours. Omitting sparsely settled Iowa and tiny Delaware, he charged, "Posterity will hold these 6 border-free states and 4 border slave states responsible for the fate of this nation in the present crisis." Although Breckinridge correctly evaluated the role of slave escape in worsening sectional relations, he misjudged posterity. As it turned out, later generations did not hold the border region responsible for the Civil War. Most of the border slave states stayed in the Union, and the lower South received most of the blame for starting the war. Decades of fighting over slavery in the North-South border region nevertheless had a profound impact on American life, culture, and politics. It helped shape the sectional struggle, the Civil War, and how that war proceeded. I portray the North-South border conflict comprehensively. Bravery, brutality, fear, and anger helped shape the story. Moral principle, altruism, self-interest, political calculation, and emotion all had roles. Obscure as well as famous people acted in a huge and complex geographic region. The border struggle's development, its forms of engagement, and its relationship to larger sectional forces require close analysis. Therefore, this book's organization is topical as well as chronological. Developments on each side of the North-South divide require separate chapters that overlap chronologically. In all cases, I moved the story along while neglecting neither analysis nor dramatic incidents.